Captain Jake Martinez stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty, watching the stars drift by through the main viewing screen. The ship moved slowly through space, its engines humming quietly. Jake had been the captain of this vessel for 3 years. Now, and he knew every sound it made. Today felt like any other day in deep space. The Liberty was not a big ship. It carried 43 crew members and was built for exploring new worlds and finding useful minerals. At least, that was what most people thought. The ship looked plain from the outside, with gray metal walls and simple designs. Nothing about it would make anyone think it was special or dangerous. Jake walked over to where Lisa Park was working. Lisa was the chief engineer, a smart woman who could fix anything on the ship. She was looking at her computer screen, checking the power systems like she did every morning. "How are we doing today, Lisa?" Jake asked. Lisa looked up and smiled. "Everything is running well, Captain. The engines are working fine, and we have full power to all systems. We should be able to finish our work on this planet by tomorrow." Jake nodded. They had been studying the third planet in this system for 2 weeks now. It was a dead world with no life, but their scanners showed it might have valuable metals under the ground. The company that sent them here wanted to know if it was worth setting up mining operations. Danny Rodriguez sat at the weapons station, even though there was not much for him to do. The Liberty only had basic defense systems, a few small guns that could handle space pirates or debris, but nothing serious. Danny was a good soldier, but he often felt bored on these peaceful missions. Amy Watson worked at the communications desk, listening to radio signals from across the galaxy. Most of the chatter was normal: cargo ships reporting their positions, space stations broadcasting weather reports, colonies asking for supplies. Nothing interesting ever happened out here, in the empty parts of space. Jake liked it that way. Boring was safe. Boring meant his crew would go home to their families when the mission ended. He had seen enough action in his younger days when he served in the military. Now he preferred the quiet life of exploration and survey work. The captain walked back to his chair and sat down. Through the big windows, he could see the planet they were studying. It was brown and gray, with no clouds or oceans, just rocks and dust as far as anyone could see. Not the kind of place anyone would want to visit, but that was fine with Jake. The less interesting a place looked, the less likely they were to run into trouble. "Captain," Amy called out from her station, "I am picking up some strange signals." Jake turned to look at her. "What kind of signals?" Amy frowned at her screen. "I am not sure. They are very faint, and they are coming from different directions. It sounds like ships talking to each other, but the language is not one I know." Lisa looked up from her work. "Could be traders passing through. This area gets some traffic, even if it is not much." Danny checked his screens. "I am not seeing anything on the scanners yet. If there are ships out there, they are too far away to detect." Jake felt a small worry in his stomach, but he tried to stay calm. In his experience, most problems in space came from jumping to conclusions too quickly. "Keep listening, Amy. Let me know if you hear anything else." Danny ran a full sensor sweep. "I want to know if anyone else is in this system." The bridge became quiet, except for the soft sounds of people working at their stations. Jake had learned to trust his crew completely. They were all good at their jobs, and they had worked together long enough to know each other well. Amy put on her headphones and focused on the radio signals. She was the best communications officer Jake had ever worked with. She could speak 7 languages and could pick up signals that other people would miss completely. Danny started his sensor sweep, checking for any ships or objects that might be hiding in the system. The Liberty had good sensors for a survey ship, but they were not military grade. If someone wanted to hide from them, it would not be too hard. Lisa continued her work on the engines, but Jake could see she was listening to the conversation. Lisa had good instincts about danger. She had saved their lives more than once by noticing problems before anyone else did. The planet below them continued to turn slowly. Jake had visited hundreds of worlds like this one, empty, lifeless rocks, floating in space. Some people found them depressing, but Jake thought they were peaceful. No wars, no politics, no complications. Just silence and stone. "Captain," Amy said, her voice more serious now, "I am definitely hearing multiple ships. They are using different alien languages, but they seem to be coordinating something. And Captain ... I think they are talking about us." Jake felt his heart beat faster. "Are you sure?" Amy nodded. "I heard them mention a human ship several times. They are too far away for me to get a clear translation, but it does not sound friendly." Danny looked up from his sensors. "Still nothing on my screens, but if Amy is hearing them, they are out there somewhere." Jake stood up and began pacing. This was not good. The Liberty was alone in this system, far from any help. If hostile ships were moving toward them, they would have to rely on their own defenses. And those defenses were not much. "How many ships do you think, Amy?" Jake asked. Amy listened carefully for a few more minutes. "At least 4, maybe more. They are keeping their distance for now, but they seem to be moving closer." Lisa saved her work and turned to face the captain. "What do you want me to do?" Jake thought quickly. They had several options. They could try to run, but their ship was not built for speed. They could send a distress call, but help was days away. They could try to hide, but there was nowhere to go in this empty system. "Get the ship ready for whatever comes," Jake said. "Lisa, I want all systems at full power. Benny, charge the weapons and prepare the shields. Amy, keep listening and try to get a better idea of what we are dealing with." The crew moved quickly to follow his orders. Jake had trained them well, and they knew how to work under pressure. But as he watched them prepare for trouble, Jake could not shake the feeling that they were about to face something much bigger than a few pirates or raiders in the distance. Invisible to their sensors, 6 alien ships moved closer through the darkness of space. The first alien ship appeared like a ghost from the darkness. One moment the space around the USS Liberty was empty, and the next moment a long dark vessel materialized right in front of them. Danny Rodriguez almost jumped out of his chair when his sensors suddenly screamed with alarm signals. "Contact bearing 005, Danny called out, his voice tight with surprise. "Big ship, Captain. Really big." Jake Martinez rushed to look at Danny's screen. The alien vessel was twice the size of the Liberty, built like a knife blade with sharp edges and dark metal. It looked like it was made for hunting, not trading or exploring. "More contacts," Amy Watson announced from her communications station. "I count 6 ships total all around us." Jake felt his heart sink as he looked at the main viewing screen. The alien ships had surrounded them in a perfect circle. Each ship was sleek and dangerous looking, with weapons ports clearly visible along their hulls. This was not a chance meeting. This was a trap. The aliens had planned this attack carefully. They knew exactly where the Liberty would be and when. Jake realized they had been watching his ship for days, maybe weeks, waiting for the right moment to strike. "All stop," Jake ordered. "Danny, what do our weapons look like against those ships?" Danny checked her screens and shook his head. "Not good, Captain. Our guns are designed for pirates and small raiders. Those ships have heavy armor and real military weapons. We would be like a mouse fighting 6 cats. Lisa Park looked up from her engineering station. "Captain, I can boost power to the shields, but it will not help much. Those ships have enough firepower to cut through our defenses in minutes." Amy suddenly straightened in her chair. "Captain, incoming transmission. They want to talk." "Put it on the main screen," Jake said. The viewing screen flickered, and then an alien face appeared. The creature looked like a cross between a lizard and a bird, with yellow eyes and sharp teeth. Scars covered one side of its face, and it wore what looked like military decorations on its dark uniform. "Human vessel," the alien said in broken English. "I am war leader Zethkar of the Kethver Consortium. You are surrounded and outgunned. Surrender immediately, and we will not kill all of your crew." Jake stepped forward. "This is Captain Martinez of the USS Liberty. We are conducting peaceful research in open space. We have done nothing wrong." Zethkar made a sound that might have been laughter. "Wrong? You exist, human. That is enough. Your species makes good slaves, and your ship will bring a fine price. On the black market, you have 30 seconds to shut down your engines and prepare to be boarded." The screen went dark. Jake felt anger burning in his chest, but he forced himself to stay calm. Getting mad would not help his crew survive. Options? Jake asked. Danny looked at his weapons display. "We could try to fight our way out, but the odds are terrible. 6 against 1, and they have bigger guns." Lisa checked her screens. "I could overload the engines and give us a speed boost, but those ships look fast. I do not think we could outrun them." Amy was listening to her headphones again. "Captain, they are talking to each other. They seem very confident this will be easy. They keep calling us another soft human ship and talking about how much money they will make." Jake walked to the center of the bridge and looked at each of his crew members. These people had followed him through 3 years of dangerous missions. They trusted him to keep them alive. He could not let them down now. "They think we are just another helpless survey ship," Jake said quietly. "They have no idea what they are really dealing with." Lisa frowned. "Captain, what do you mean?" "Before Jake could answer, the alien ships moved closer. The Liberty shook as tractor beams locked onto its hull. Jake could see smaller alien vessels launching from the warships, heading toward his ship to board it. 15 seconds, human." Zethkar's voice came over the radio. "Surrender now, or we start shooting." Jake looked at Danny. "How long would it take you to prepare the escape pods?" Danny checked his console. 5 minutes to get everyone off the ship safely." "We do not have 5 minutes," Jake said. He walked over to Lisa's station and put his hand on a red cover that protected a special switch. "Lisa, are all the experimental systems ready?" Lisa's eyes went wide. "Captain, are you sure?" "We have never tested them in real combat." "Tested? What?" Amy asked. Confused. Jake looked at his crew with a serious expression. "There is something about this ship you do not know. The Liberty is not just a survey vessel. We are also testing new military technology for Earth Defense Command. The mineral surveys were real, but they were also cover for our real mission." Danny stared at his weapons console with new understanding. "That is why some of these controls never made sense to me. They are not for the weapons I thought we had." "Exactly," Jake said. "Danny, you are not just a weapons officer. You are a test pilot for the most advanced combat systems Earth has ever built." "Lisa, those engines you have been babying for 3 years, they are not survey ship engines." Amy pulled off her headphones. "And my communications equipment can do more than just listen to radio chatter." Jake nodded. "All of you are chosen for this mission because you are the best at what you do. You all have military backgrounds that qualified you for classified work. The boring survey missions were just practice for a moment like this." The alien boarding ships were getting closer. Zethkar's voice came over the radio again, sounding angry. "Time is up, humans. Prepare to be boarded." Jake lifted the red cover and looked at the switch underneath. "Lisa, bring all systems online. Danny, prepare to show these aliens what a real human warship can do. Amy, jam their communications and start broadcasting our engagement to Earth Command." Lisa's fingers flew over her controls. "Experimental systems coming online now, Captain. power levels rising to maximum. Danny watched his weapons display change completely. New controls appeared, showing weapon systems he had only dreamed about. Captain, these readings cannot be right. This much firepower on a ship this size should be impossible. Nothing is impossible when human engineers put their minds to it, Jake said with a grim smile. Amy, send a message to those alien ships. Tell them they picked the wrong ship to ambush. The Liberty began to change. Hidden panels slid open along its hull, revealing weapons that had been concealed for 3 years. The plain gray survey ship suddenly bristled with advanced military hardware. Sethkar's confident expression changed to confusion as his sensors detected the transformation happening to his prey. Jake Martinez pressed the red switch. Immediately, the USS Liberty began to transform in ways that made War Leader Zethkar step back from his viewing screen in shock. The plain gray hull of the human ship split open in dozens of places. Hidden weapon arrays emerged from concealed compartments that had been invisible moments before. Gun turrets rose from the ship's surface like metal flowers blooming in fast motion. Energy collectors that had been disguised as simple communication dishes suddenly revealed themselves as targeting systems. Lisa, Park's fingers danced across her control panel as power systems that had been sleeping for 3 years roared to life. The Liberty's engines, which had seemed adequate for a survey ship, now showed their true nature. They were military-grade fusion drives, capable of powering weapons that could crack planets. All experimental systems online, Lisa reported, her voice filled with excitement. Power output is at 400% of what we showed on our fake specifications. Captain, this ship has enough energy to light up a small city. Danny Rodriguez stared at his weapons console as it completely changed. The simple defensive guns he thought he had been operating were gone, replaced by displays showing plasma cannons, particle beam arrays, and missile systems that belonged on a battleship, not a survey vessel. Captain, I am reading weapons I did not know we had, Danny said, his voice full of wonder. These plasma cannons show enough power to cut through the hull of a space station. And these missiles, they are not regular explosives. They are antimatter warheads. Amy Watson activated communication systems that were far more advanced than anything she had used before. Her console lit up with options for electronic warfare, signal jamming, and battlefield coordination that no civilian ship would ever need. I am jamming all alien communications in this system, Amy reported. They cannot talk to each other or call for help. I am also broadcasting everything that happens here back to Earth Defense Command. The whole galaxy will know what happened today. On his command ship, Zethkar watched the transformation with growing fear. His sensors were telling him things that made no sense. The simple human survey ship was showing power readings that matched his own warship. Weapons were appearing that his computer databases had never seen before. War Leader, one of his officers, called out nervously. The human ship is showing energy signatures unlike anything in our files. These readings suggest technology far beyond what we know humans to possess. Zethkar snarled, showing his sharp teeth. Impossible. Humans are weak. Their ships are poorly armed cargo haulers. Our intelligence reports are very clear about this. But even as he spoke, Zethkar could see that his intelligence reports were wrong. Very wrong. The ship in front of him was not the helpless prey he had expected. It was something else entirely. Jake looked around his bridge at his crew. These people had trained for this moment without knowing it. Every boring survey mission had been practice. Every routine system check had been preparation for combat they thought would never come. Danny, target their lead ship. Lisa, prepare for evasive maneuvers. Amy, send a message to the alien fleet on all frequencies. Amy nodded and opened communication. Channels. Message ready, Captain. Tell them this, Jake said calmly. You wanted to capture a human ship. Congratulations, you found one. But this is not the ship you were looking for. The message went out across space in multiple alien languages. On the Kethver ships, officers looked at each other with confusion and growing worry. Zethkar tried to regain control of the situation. All ships, attack pattern Delta. Destroy the human vessel before it can use whatever tricks it is showing us. But when his ships tried to coordinate their attack, they found their communications jammed. Amy had cut them off from each other completely. The 6 alien vessels that had worked together perfectly during the ambush were now isolated and confused. Danny Rodriguez had spent 3 years learning what he thought were simple defensive systems. Now he discovered he had actually been training on some of the most advanced weapons in human space. His hands moved across controls with the confidence of someone who had practiced these movements thousands of times. Targeting the lead ship, Danny announced. Plasma cannons locked on target. Fire, Jake ordered. The Liberty's main plasma cannon erupted with energy that lit up the darkness of space. The beam struck Zethkar's ship directly in its forward section. The alien vessel's shields, which were designed to stop conventional weapons, offered no protection against human plasma technology. Energy beam burned through the alien ship's armor like it was paper. Secondary explosions rippled along the hull as internal systems overloaded. In seconds, the mighty warship that had seemed so threatening was drifting helplessly with half its forward section destroyed. Direct hit, Danny reported with satisfaction. Their lead ship is out of the fight. The other alien ships tried to respond, but they were no longer fighting a weak survey vessel. Lisa Park pushed the Liberty's engines to full power, and the ship moved with speed and agility that shocked the alien captains. This was not how human ships were supposed to behave. Jake had learned space combat during his years in the military, fighting pirates and raiders on the frontier. But he had never commanded a ship with capabilities like this. The Liberty responded to his orders like a living thing, turning and spinning through space with grace that defied its size. Amy, what are the aliens saying? Jake asked as he maneuvered the ship to avoid incoming fire. Amy listened to the communications she was intercepting. They are panicking, Captain. They keep asking each other what kind of ship this is. Some of them want to retreat. Too late for that, Jake said grimly. They came here to capture and enslave my crew. Now they get to learn why that was a bad idea. Danny locked on to the second alien ship and fired again. This time he used the particle beam array, a weapon that could punch through almost any armor. The alien ship tried to dodge, but its movements seemed slow and clumsy compared to the Liberty's impossible agility. The particle beam struck the alien vessel amidships, and the ship broke apart in a brilliant explosion. Debris scattered in all directions as the warship's reactor overloaded. 2 down, 4 to go, Danny announced. Lisa monitored the ship's systems as they operated at levels the aliens had never imagined possible. All systems running perfectly, Captain. These experimental technologies are working better than our best projections. The remaining alien ships tried to coordinate an attack, but without communications, they were just 4 individual vessels, fighting an enemy they did not understand. They had expected to capture a helpless survey ship. Instead, they faced a predator that had been disguised as prey. Jake Martinez smiled as he watched his crew work with deadly efficiency. The boring survey missions were over. Now it was time to show the galaxy what humans could really do. The third alien ship tried to run. Its captain had watched 2 of his fellow warships destroyed in minutes by weapons that should not exist. Fear replaced confidence as the alien realized this was no longer a hunt. It had become a massacre. Martinez watched the fleeing ship on his main screen and shook his head. Danny, do not let them escape. If they get away, they will warn others about our capabilities. Danny Rodriguez nodded and targeted the running vessel with the Liberty's long-range missile system. He had discovered that the ship carried antimatter, torpedoes, weapons so powerful they were banned in most parts of the galaxy. But Earth Defense Command had decided that sometimes banned weapons were exactly what you needed. "Missile away," Danny announced. The torpedo streaked through space, faster than the alien ship could run. When it struck the rear of the fleeing vessel, the explosion was visible from thousands of miles away. The antimatter warhead turned the entire back half of the ship into energy and scattered debris. "Target destroyed," Danny reported with grim satisfaction. The 3 remaining alien ships stopped trying to fight individually and attempted to form up together. Their captains were experienced warriors who had conquered dozens of worlds, but they had never faced technology like this. They tried to use their numbers to overwhelm the single human ship. Lisa Park monitored the approaching enemies and made adjustments to the Liberty's defensive systems. The ship's shields were not just strong, they were adaptive. They learned from each attack and became stronger. When the alien weapons struck them, the energy was not just blocked, but absorbed and redirected back at the attackers. "Shields at full strength and rising," Lisa reported. "Their weapons are actually making our defenses stronger." Amy Watson continued jamming alien communications while broadcasting the battle across known space. Every species with radio equipment could watch as a single human ship systematically destroyed a fleet that should have easily overpowered it. "Captain," Amy said with excitement in her voice, "I am receiving messages from all over this sector. Everyone is watching what we are doing here. Some of the comments are very interesting." "What kind of comments?" Jake asked as he maneuvered the Liberty between 2 attacking alien ships. "Several alien governments are asking each other if they knew humans had this kind of technology. A few are suggesting they should reconsider their trade agreements with Earth. And Captain, there are at least 12 other alien fleets in nearby systems that just changed course to avoid human space." Jake smiled. Word was spreading fast. The galaxy was learning that attacking human ships was a very bad idea. 4th alien ship made a desperate attack run, trying to ram the Liberty with its armored hull. The alien captain thought that if he could not destroy the human ship with weapons, maybe he could take it down by crashing into it. Jake saw the attack coming and waited until the last moment before giving his order. "Lisa, emergency acceleration. Danny, target their bridge." The Liberty suddenly jumped forward with speed that should have been impossible for a ship its size. The alien vessel, committed to its ramming attack, could not change course fast enough. As it passed underneath the human ship, Danny fired the plasma cannon directly into its command section. The alien bridge vanished in a ball of superheated gas. The ship continued forward for a few more seconds before its automatic systems shut down the engines. It drifted helplessly in space, no longer a threat to anyone. 2 alien ships remained. Their captains were no longer thinking about profit or slaves. They were thinking about survival. These ships had been part of a proud fleet that had conquered star systems. Now they were the last survivors of a battle that had gone completely wrong. War leader Zethkar was still alive on his damaged ship, but barely. Half his crew was dead, his weapons were offline, and his engines were failing. He watched the human vessel move through space like a predator playing with its prey, and he finally understood the truth. Humans were not the weak species his people thought they were. The intelligence reports were wrong. Everything they knew about human capabilities was wrong. This single ship had technology that was years ahead of anything the Kethvar possessed. "Human captain," Zethkar transmitted on an emergency frequency, his voice filled with pain and fear. "We surrender. Please show mercy to my remaining crews." Jake looked at the alien's face on his screen, the arrogant war leader who had threatened to enslave his crew now looked broken and desperate. Part of Jake felt sorry for him, But a larger part remembered the aliens' original plan. "You came here to capture my crew and sell them as slaves," Jake said calmly. "You thought we were helpless. You were wrong about that, and you were wrong about the consequences of attacking humans." Danny had the last two ships targeted and was waiting for orders. The aliens had stopped fighting and were broadcasting surrender messages, but Jake knew that letting them go would be a mistake. If these ships escaped, they would return with larger fleets. "Amy, are you still broadcasting?" "This?" Jake asked. "Yes, Captain. Half the galaxy is watching what happens next." Jake nodded. This was important. What he did now would send a message to every hostile species within 100 light years of human space. "Danny, finish it," Jake ordered. The remaining two alien ships died quickly. Danny used precision strikes that targeted their reactors, making the ships explode cleanly without unnecessary suffering for the crews. It was fast and professional, the work of a trained military officer who took no pleasure in killing, but understood the necessity of complete victory. When the last explosion faded, the USS Liberty floated alone among the wreckage of 6 alien warships. The space around them was filled with debris and the glow of cooling metal, but the human ship was undamaged. Jake looked around his bridge at his crew. Lisa was already running diagnostics on their experimental systems, making notes for her report to Earth Defense Command. Danny was powering down the weapons and securing the ship for normal operations. Amy was organizing the battle recordings and preparing the official transmission to headquarters. "Well done, everyone," Jake said quietly. "Amy, send a general broadcast on all frequencies. I want every species in this sector to get the message." Amy prepared the transmission equipment. "Ready, Captain." Jake looked directly into the camera. "This is Captain Martinez of the USS Liberty. The ships you just saw destroyed attacked what they thought was a helpless human survey vessel. They were wrong. Let this serve as a warning to anyone who thinks humans are easy prey. We are not the species you think we are. We are much more dangerous than you know." The message went out across space, reaching hundreds of worlds and thousands of ships. In government buildings and military headquarters throughout the galaxy, alien leaders watched the recording and began to recalculate their opinions about humanity. Jake sat back in his captain's chair and looked at the stars. The Liberty would continue its survey mission, but he suspected they would not be bothered by pirates or raiders anymore. Word would spread quickly that human ships were not the easy targets they appeared to be. The galaxy had learned an important lesson today. In space, it was not always the biggest fleet that won. Sometimes, it was the species that was smart enough to make their enemies underestimate them until it was too late. The USS Liberty set course for its next destination, leaving behind the wreckage of 6 ships and the reputation of humans as a species that should never be underestimated.